Oh, he's quite happily still drinking his way through his yoghurt, milk, nettle, herb, cat's claw concoction. Had a bit more to eat. I just spent the last half hour researching toxic poisoning in chickens, whether it be plant matter or lead or salt or whatever. Although salt poisoning can cause convulsions, there's sort of other things it causes as well, symptoms that he hasn't got. Lead, again, same, but other symptoms that he hasn't got. Plant matter, you know, seeds or leaves or whatever of toxic plants, again, other symptoms that he hasn't got. Basically, the only symptom he's got is the convulsions. You know, the slapping down of the feet and not being able to coordinate himself, and then coming to and being perfectly normal. From that to a couple of convulsions of chucking himself around in the stable out there, but then he got up on the perch at night, every night, and roosted quite happily until 2 days before I brought him in, when he'd obviously had a real bad, severe fit in the stable that morning and knocked everything flying, the perches, the drinker, the thing I've got the drinker elevated off the floor on, bedding absolutely everywhere, feathers absolutely everywhere, you know, because they're going through a molt anyway, so the feathers that were lying around on the floor in there in the corners were out the door, up on in the cobwebs, up on the grill. Who knows anything like it in your life, like a slaughterhouse in there, after a gale. And that was the case for 2 mornings, and of course the second afternoon I got him in because he couldn't coordinate at all. He was all over the place, he was throwing himself down the ramp out in the patch. So they've been out on the new patch for about 3 weeks. I have gone round that patch with a fine-tooth comb. There's no toxic plants. Any plants that I know that are poisonous, well, whether they're poisonous to chickens or not, whether chickens would even eat them, I doubt. But because I know that they are toxic, I will pluck them out of the ground. Well, they're not up yet. They're not out there. There's nothing out there other than what's been out there forever and a day, which is brambles, which I've cleared, elderberry trees, rose hip bush, grass, and an oak tree. And that's it. There's no stinging nettles out there, but that's it. There's nothing else out there. Might be buckshot, I suppose, from the hunters' shotguns. I sometimes find the capsules, you know, the shotgun capsules out around the fields, which drives me absolutely bloody insane, because the buggers shouldn't be on my land, but they do come on my land, and they just leave their shells all over the shop. I pick them up, but there isn't any shells out there. There couldn't be anyway, because it's all fenced off. So there'd be no buckshot. So lead, no. No, there's he hasn't got access to anything toxic, not plant-wise or, you know, chemical-wise. So I don't even use chemical worms for the horses. I worm them to diatomaceous earth and herbs and things twice a year. And the stallion that I had out there, my stallion, my boy, he's been dead for 4. So, you know, there's been nothing, not even any herbs or diatomaceous earth out there in horse poo for 4 years. So I don't know quite what's what. So I think I've exhausted every research resource I can find. So no, I don't think it's something he's ingested. Something peculiar to him. I don't know. Honestly, it'd be a mystery. If he survives and carries on forever onwards, upwards and forwards, it'd just be one of those things that I'll never be able to solve. It'd be a complete mystery. But hey, if he survives, all well and good. If he doesn't, I'll do a post-mortem. But if it's something neurological or something that isn't obvious, then I'll still be none the wiser, because I'm certainly not going to pay a vet to tell me, oh, we don't know what it is. So we'll see. We'll see how he progresses. I'll do an update if and when anything changes. Well, I spoke too soon, and it's relatively disappointing. He was quite content laying on the floor, asleep. Then he stood up, had a poo, which wasn't a normal poo. His body language was fairly normal, considering what he's been through in the last week. But his poo wasn't, and his poo has been normal up until that moment. And immediately he had a fit, threw himself all over the kitchen floor. He was so violent with his convulsion that I couldn't even catch him, and when I did, he again was completely different. He completely rigid, flapping wings everywhere, rotating his head all the way round, gasping for air, and really, I thought that was it, death row, and he was going to die. But no, he didn't. He came to, settled down, so I put him back on the towel. He went to lay down again, but then walked backwards, did another poo, had a mini fit after that, then sort of shook himself a bit, laid down, and as you can see he's peaceful, but he's sort of laying on his side, but he keeps doing this beak movement, and every now and again he'll breathe with his beak open, which is worrying. The first poo he did was nothing but froth, a little bit of solid matter in it, but otherwise froth. And the second little poo he did was an extremely dark green. So I think by a process of elimination I've narrowed it down to, yes, it is his digestive system that's messed up, but primarily his liver and gallbladder, because the colour of the second small poo was, there was no froth in it, it was a perfectly normal poo, but it was really, really dark green. I know he's on nettle tea, but it's not that dark green, but this was a dark green, very, identical to the bile that's in their gallbladder. And of course, if his gallbladder and liver aren't functioning completely normally, then his blood isn't being cleaned properly, and hence toxins in the blood and causing brain disturbance. Not oxygenating, or just toxins in the blood. So I'm going to give him milk thistle. I haven't got a milk thistle glycerite, I've only got the milk thistle seeds. I could make a tea, I suppose, crush them up, or I could try feeding him the seeds, just, as the seeds, to help his liver and / gallbladder. But his fitting was certainly to do with eating and drinking. Every time he drank something he would fit, every time he ate something he would fit. And then of course his crop would make this peculiar popping noise, and his gizzard would make this almost screaming explosion of bubbles, gas, liquid, I don't know, internally, and that smell. And his crop wasn't emptying properly. The food I was giving him, or he was taking himself, I could feel in his crop, and that was moving down. I suppose after 3 or 4 hours this crop would get smaller, but there was still this sort of mass in there. It wasn't compacted or anything, and it certainly wasn't balloon-like as if it was sauerkraut. It was just matter that was there and wasn't really moving. So I'm not quite sure what that was, but yesterday, when he wasn't eating at all on his own, and I was pushing the food down him, but he was drinking a reasonable amount, and I was making sure I was trying to keep him irrigated out with plenty of liquid. Eventually that mass did start to decrease, and then last night, one of his 500th fits during the night, I suppose it might have been about 4 o'clock in the morning, his crop was completely empty. It was completely empty, completely flat, and in fact I couldn't even really find it, so I knew that it had completely emptied out. And as I say, today he's eating and drinking on his own once I got him out of the cage. A completely different rooster, eating, drinking, enjoying, eating and drinking, loving his yoghurt mix, and not fitting only when he had this poo, but the froth in the first one makes me think it was something intestinal, gizzard, you know, there's something not working correctly there. And then the second one, liver, gallbladder, and if that isn't functioning properly, then, you know, that's going to cause ongoing vicious circle of problems. So I'm going to prepare him some milk thistle and see if that helps him. But I wish he wouldn't keep breathing through his open beak, breathing with an open beak from time to time. But he is peaceful, but whether he's actually conscious or not, I'm not absolutely certain. I mean, he might even be unconscious, I don't know. I say he's on his side, almost. Or whether he's just enjoying peace. This is now day 8. So, I say he's only had one major, extremely major, and one very minute fit in the last 2.5 hours. So that's good going, I suppose, compared to what he's been doing the last 8 days, fitting every 2 minutes. So I'll do the milk thistle, and if he becomes conscious again or comes to and wants something to eat, we'll give him that and see if that helps him a bit. Are you looking at me, little man? Yeah? Are you with it, or is that an unconscious? Oh, I don't know. Perhaps that was a conscious look around. I don't know. Oh, we'll see.